Welcome back to another do-it-yourself tutorial video starring John Blanket. You ever seen those 3D diorama pictures? John Blanket, what's a 3D diorama picture? So these are 3D dioramas. I think they're really, really cool. I've always wanted one, but they are stupid expensive if you get something video game based. Like you can get like a little dollhouse or some just random scene and it's like pretty cheap, but when it comes to video game stuff, everybody wants top dollar for it, and it's absolutely ridiculous. I'm sick and tired of it, so I decided that I was gonna make one myself. And now I'm gonna teach you how you can do it too. So here it is. This is my Final Fantasy VII 3D diorama that I made myself. This is the first one that I have ever made. I've been thinking a lot about doing one of these for probably, I don't know, the better part of a year because I'm a procrastinator. I put things off and I'm not afraid to admit that. There's nothing to do today and there's always something to do tomorrow. So what did I use to put this thing together? Let me show you. The cool thing is all of this stuff can be obtained in one shop, the hobby store, whichever hobby store you prefer to go to. I'm pretty sure they have it there. If you want to go to like a small one, you might not find everything you need there, so you might as well just go to the big one. To put this project together, I used a picture frame that is about 1.5 inches to 2 inches deep. I believe this picture frame is around 7 inches by 7 inches, maybe a little bigger, maybe a little shorter, but somewhere in there. I didn't actually look. All I said was, hey, this is exactly what I want. I also used a couple of sheets of polystyrene. Now, you do not have to use polystyrene for this. Again, this was my very first time ever doing this, and I just used what I had available. I had some extra polystyrene laying around. I bought that off of eBay. Again, I know that they have those at hobby shops, but if you happen to not be able to find polystyrene, you can use foam board. And foam board is so much easier to use than polystyrene. Polystyrene is fairly easy to cut, but foam board cuts a lot easier. It's also thicker than polystyrene, so your images will pop a little bit more if you happen to use the foam board. I suggest using foam board. It's the easiest way to go. I also used a couple of sheets of vinyl to do this. Now I'm also going to mention, I noticed that the print on my vinyl was a little bit pixelated in the final product. However, when I used a thicker piece of paper, almost a cardstock type paper, the image came out extremely clear. So in order to get the best quality image, I suggest that you use a paper rather than vinyl. Along with the vinyl, I also used a protective clear piece that goes over the top of the vinyl. It's meant to protect the vinyl from weather and stuff like that. So it's basically like putting a clear coat on your graphic. Again, that is not something that you need to use. You don't have to have that. You could just clear coat your image flat out with regular clear coat from a spray can. And if you want to learn how to do that, you can check out my other tutorials where I do spray paint and I actually show you how to use clear coat on those tutorials. It's very easy. Don't be worried. Is it something that you need to do? Absolutely not. But if you use a clear coat, it will make your colors look more vibrant and pop out a bit more. So the first thing we're going to do, and as absolutely as ridiculous as it might be to show you this, you're going to go to Google and you're going to type in whatever art you're looking for. I chose Final Fantasy VII, so I put in Final Fantasy VII in the search bar, searched up images, and looked through the many different images there are until I found the one that I wanted to use. Right-click your image and save the image to your computer. You can simply right-click on the image, go up to Print, and open up your printer software. In here, we're going to make sure that the paper type is set to plain. If you are using photo paper, you would select glossy photo paper. That's not a bad idea. I think photo paper would actually look really, really good as well as regular paper. It's not necessary, but if that's your preference, by all means, you can use glossy photo paper. I chose to print the picture at 8.5 because that fit my frame the best. You will have to kind of fool around with this a bit to make sure that you're getting the image to look exactly the way you want it to look. So be sure before using up all your high glossy photo paper or your vinyl or whatever it is that you choose to use, because it's expensive, you're going to want to run a couple of test runs on regular old paper and print it as a draft. So I'm taking the clear protective sheet that is meant to go over this vinyl image, and I'm putting that down there very, very carefully, making sure that there are no bubbles left inside of it. Once I've properly got this film over the top of the image, I'm then going to mark my picture using the very back of the picture frame, so that way I know that the image will fit perfectly within the frame. Now that I have that marked, I'm going to go ahead and use this thing here. I don't know what you call it, but it cuts things in straight lines. You don't have to use one of these. You can use scissors if you would prefer. I like these because they make cutting straight lines very, very simple and reduce my time spent on several projects. Now that this image has been cut out, I'm going to go ahead and place the image on the polystyrene, very much in the same way that I put the protective sheeting down over the image in the first place. You roll it onto the polystyrene, making sure to push out any bubbles along the way. At this point, if you are not using vinyl like I am, and you're using regular paper or cardstock paper, you can now glue your image down to the polystyrene or the foam board, whichever it is that you are using, either with Elmer's Glue All, any kind of glue will work. I'm using Mod Podge, but that's because that's what I had on hand. Make sure that you evenly place it on there. If you pay attention to the video a little later, I actually use Mod Podge. At that time in the video, I'll make sure to point out exactly when I'm using the Mod Podge, what I'm using it for, and proper techniques to applying it. If you are using glue, make sure to let it dry for at least 2 hours before moving on to the next step, which is cutting all this stuff out. That's the fun part, I think. So when using polystyrene, I go ahead and just kind of cut out in the general vicinity of the area of what character or image that I'm trying to get off of this picture. And then I slowly but surely and carefully whittle it down until it's completely cut out the way I need it to be cut out. I knew I had to be patient and slowly whittle it down and carve it out until I got it to looking the way I wanted it to look, until the image was actually cut out exactly, precisely the way I wanted it to be cut out. With foam board, that process takes a lot less time and it's a lot easier than if you were to be using polystyrene.
Wouldn't let you go if you left me. Wouldn't let you go if we're standing miles apart. I'd be a domino, I will let you know through vibrations of me. Wouldn't let you go if you left me. Wouldn't let you go if we're standing miles apart. I'd be a domino.
Now that I have Cloud cut out and I have my part of Midgard Tower cut out, I'm going to kind of go around the edges of this to make sure that any loose pieces of polystyrene are cut off, just by running my X-Acto knife over the edges of everything, kind of trying to make sure it's all nice and smoothed out. And now it's time for the next step, which is setting the images face down. So you want the image to be protected laying face down, and we're going to lay something heavy over the top of it so that way they are securely snug on a flat surface. I'm going around the edges of these images with a very cheap paint. It doesn't have to be very good paint to do this. It could be $1.50 a can paint, and that stuff dries very quickly. Within 15 minutes you're going to be able to handle this and start putting your final product together. Now that everything is ready to go and cut out, I needed to go ahead and secure this part of Midgard Tower to the background image. I used Mod Podge to do that with. Mod Podge is basically just glue. It can be used for many different crafts. I used a sponge brush to lightly apply this stuff to the back of my image of Midgard Tower. Now that I have that completely covered, I'm going to set it down exactly where it needs to go on the image, lining up the image with the background image. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and let my image again dry for another 2 hours until I'm going to move it around. All right, all of our images are cut out. They are glued to where they need to be glued, and it is time to put our final product together. So for me, what I wanted to do is I wanted to have Cloud right up on the glass, so there's a great amount of depth between Cloud and the rest of the image. I put Cloud down at the bottom of this freely. Now, again, this is the very first time that I've ever done anything like this, and this is what worked out for me personally. There are many different ways to go about getting your image to pop out and have that 3D effect compared to what I'm doing. There are plenty of different ways that you can go about it. If you look at some of these that I've drawn inspiration from, just looking at and trying to figure out exactly how I would go about doing it, you can see there's a lot of really, really cool ways that these people have done it. Most of them have just built up off of the bottom of the image itself. So everything is connected to the bottom image. With the foam board, it's a little bit thicker than polystyrene, so this effect can actually happen fairly easily. You could even double up your foam board so that way your images are thicker and they're gonna stick further up off of your background. Once I had Cloud in there, the way I wanted to make sure that he would not fall back onto the image when I hung the picture up or something like that, was I just used a regular sewing pin with a plastic head on it to make sure that Cloud would stay where I needed him to stay. And it sticks into the backboard fairly easily. You can also line the inside of your frame with foam board to get it to stick in even further if you need to and have it a bit more secure, if that is a way that you're going to go about using it. Again, if you look at some of the other images, you'll see that nobody else has done it that way. I just chose to do it that way, sort of as an innovative kind of thing. And again, this is the very first time I've ever done this. I don't claim to be an expert, but I know that it was a little bit overwhelming thinking, gosh, I love the way these things look. Look at all of these. These are so cool. I want one. How much is it? $36 at least for that? Screw that. I'll just make one myself. Here you are. And welcome to the part of the video where I read your questions and comments and respond to them. And in the next do-it-yourself tutorial video, I will read the questions that you left on this video and respond to them then. Hikari Yaoi 2625 commented, so I spilled some syrup in my triangle and circle buttons somehow and had to get my buttons unstuck. I could have brute forced this thing apart and probably broke something. Thanks for walking me through this the right way. Sexy voice, by the way. Thank you, Hikari. And next time you eat pancakes, try not to use your controller as a fork. Byron Fox said, went through about 4 or 5 vids before I got here. Others were trash. Feels a bit sad that they have so many views and stumble all over everything. You know what you're doing. But thanks a bunch, mate. Yeah, that does kind of suck, but I'm happy that anybody watches it at all. Nick Palat said, this video is great. Thanks, boy. Thank you. Fix my directional buttons easy. Edit. Easy. Yeah, no. Those ribbon cables are AIDS. Constantly terrified I was gonna break them. Lol. I can't say that I've ever thought about those ribbon cables in the same way that I think about AIDS. Jay Gunter said, thank you, Lord, for not being a 25-minute video. I don't know why these pools, I think it's been 30 minutes to show somebody how to take the controller apart. It's like full quick step by step. You could probably do it, and a 3-minute video. Anyway, I'm renting. I appreciate it. What? Retro Dealer commented, your old middle-aged 4-eyed guy swearing and trying to act cool, talking about your ass. I'm going to flag you and give you tons of thumbs down, and I'll flag you till you get censored. Watch it. I don't really put too much into this, but why you gotta be making fun of a guy for wearing glasses? I was born that way. I was born with bad eyes. I didn't ask to have bad eyes. It was just how it worked out. Thanks again for watching the video today. I really do appreciate it. And if you enjoyed the video, let me know by leaving me a like, and go ahead and leave a comment down below. Say anything you want to say. Ask me anything you want to ask. And on the next do-it-yourself tutorial video, I will go ahead and do another segment like I just did. I love talking to you people, and I feel like this is a great way for us to communicate. Again, look at that. That's the whole point of the video right there. Turned out looking pretty all right. I love you so much, and I will see you in the next video.